Hi everyone, I'm here to wish you all a Merry Christmas and Happy Holiday Season. Due to the COVID and the crazy year of 2020, I'm going to give you a little personal review of my village and some of my inside decorations. I started here at the front door with a candle in my hand because of the year of, everyone's talking about a year of darkness. I look at it as a year of light, and the light has gotten me through this pandemic and the crazy year we've had in all aspects of life. And the wreath is a symbol of light, and it comes from the original. The Scandinavians would actually get wagon wheels and put evergreen on it, and they would have candles on the wreath, and that would be their sign of life, because light. Because in Scandinavia, if you don't know that by now, it's a very dark, cold winter, and their their Christmas season starts on St. Lucy's, and they have a big celebration again with candles of light, because that's one of the longest nights of the year, and that starts their Christmas season. So we're going to go inside and start a little tour, and we'll go from there. Okay, now we're entering downstairs, and this is where the main scene is. And everyone says, how did you get into this Christmas spirit? Well, in my childhood, my mother and father, every Christmas, we would take everything off the shelves in the living room. I would dust the furniture, and my father would put out Christmas decorations. And we also would have family and friends all the time. It was open house, and that's where I continue the legacy of my mother and father. Had a great childhood memories, and I try to move it along in the generations moving forward. And this is actually my Christmas stocking from when I was probably 7 years old, so it's quite old. I'm not going to give away my age, but there it is. And I was almost going to throw it out at one point in my life. I said, you know what? I held on to it, and what I did is I framed it, and I have my brother, sister, and myself in a sleds up at, I think it was Santa's Village in New York, and that's the three of us on the sled. So moving along, I have my three kids in a similar sled. Years ago, that was actually Santa's Village, and I decided to frame these. And of course, there they are with Santa Claus. So the tradition continues. And I said the next framing will be my grandkids. I don't know when, where, and how I'm going to get them to Santa's Village to do this, but I will if I have to take them up on a sled myself. Now, the first section that goes up during the month of September is, my wife and I usually do an annual road trip, and when we come back, I start dismantling all shelving with books and desk here, and I start the North Pole, believe it or not. So you could come here probably around October 1st and hear Christmas carols, like I'm Dreaming of a White Christmas, while you're out looking for mums and pumpkins for the start of fall and raking leaves. I'm raking out the rolls of snow to start the Christmas season. As we pan through the village, I want to just explain a couple of things here on the North Pole that I get a kick out of. First of all, I do luggage repair, so we have Santa's little travel agency, and that's where all the people go in the North Pole and book their trips. And I move along here, and some of the things a lot of people like is the cupcake factory where they're making the cupcakes, and I always think of Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz and I Love Lucy scene, so I could picture her in there trying to make, I think they were doing candy, but they're making cupcakes in there. As we move along, of course, this is a little bit of Lego, and Brian this year, due to the pandemic, didn't do his Lego section, so I do have a little section, and I didn't even do this. It's just, I wouldn't even know where to start, believe it or not. And highlights for all you Floridians, there's Santa. I think you've seen it before down on, I see that's my Florida with Santa Claus, and him with all his sand castles. And it continues along, and this is just a little bit of highlighting.
Right.
The second section that starts is the gingerbread and spice. And a lot of people look at it and think I actually bake these things, and there is nothing real you could eat in there. It's all fake. If you think I have the time to make a walkway with jelly beans, I'm crazy, but I'm not that crazy. But it does look kind of real. And there's a little highlight here is Brandon's, my son-in-law, that's his mother's Christmas village, and it didn't have lights, so I put spotlights on it just in memory of her. She passed away this past year, and sadly, but that's part of the celebration. of Christmas. The third section that goes up is Disney, and of course, a lot of people love Disney. And I started simple on this, and eventually I got the Contemporary Hotel. We actually have the monorail going through here. And I also have Disney and statue that is actually in Disney. It's in the walkway to the castle. And highlighting other things, we have the Epcot Center up, and you can see that in the background.
Go ahead.
So there's two phases of this Disney that I've just jumped into. As you know, I have 4 grandkids, and they're 5 and 2 are 5 and 2 are 3. And this past summer, I got to get caught up on all these Disney characters and their movies that I knew were around, but I really never got into it. And this year I watched them every Friday. I used to call it Grampy's Daycare, and we would play one of these Disney movies. So as you can see, we go from Frozen to all the little Disney characters on the outskirts of the village, so they can get to see them and have fun. We have Lion King, and down the other end we have Snow White, and I actually have a little castle that they can play with. It's the only thing they're allowed to play with is this castle, because you can move the figure and it will play a different song for each princess of Disney. So they get to use that. But it's still hard trying to tell 5 and 3-year-olds that's all they can touch. They do pretty good though, I gotta give them credit. The fourth section that construction starts, and this is probably toward late October. Well, we usually get our first snowfall like we did this year. I think it was October 19th. Has nothing to do with anything. Actually, one Halloween, it was actually snowing. They canceled it, and I had Christmas, so I looked like I was in the season, well ahead of the true season. And this is all I call Kidsville, and it's all memories of when I was a child. We had zoo trips to the zoo, and most of the carnival scene reminds me of when I used to go to Paragon Park as a child. And we used to, about 15 of us would get on the boat at, it was called the Mass Bay, I think it was Mass Bay Ferry Lines, and it would go without any parents for the day. We'd get on the boat and go down to Nantasket Beach, and we'd get down there and go on all the different rides. Other parts of this Kidsville, you'll see a little schoolhouse, and that reminds me of my school years, and all little scenes of kids playing in the snow. We were sledding, and here you'll see camping, because I was in the Boy Scouts and they actually camped, and I did chop wood. In fact, there were a lot of fond memories of the Boy Scouts. We actually had a snowball fight with kids from Hyde Park, and the funniest story was one of the snowballs, and it actually ended up in the other Hyde Park kids had a trumpet, and it went right in the trumpet, and that did him in. And of course I did some ski trips, and in the back you could see these, I call it Vermont, and I was actually the treasurer in high school, and I had to collect money to do the annual, the senior ski trip, and it went very successful. In fact, when we went up there that year, I think they had like 4 feet of snow on the ground. It was one of the worst Februaries, and that was back in 1969. And if you don't believe me, you can go on Google or wherever you want and check it out. We only had 2 days of school that year, but we did go on the ski trip. We had the school bus meet us down at the square, and we made our way, and we survived. The next section is section 5, and this is what I call Americana. My wife and I, if you don't know by now, we do road trips every September. We usually pick a couple of states and we drive the back roads of America. We've done about 47 states. We've got to go back to a couple and see some of the back roads that we haven't, but I've seen pretty much every stitch of each state, and it's been an awesome experience. And you can look through this, and there's parts of the front end is probably like I would consider Iowa and the farm country. And in the backdrop, you can see the Golden Gate Bridge, and we actually have Vegas in here. Of course, there's no gambling at Christmas time. We just have it. We actually have Elvis, and I'll just let you look through it and tour my Americana scene. There's a couple of other little interesting things. I don't know if anyone ever heard of the Owl's Head Museum up in Maine, but that's a transportation museum. We were up there last August, or a couple of years ago, and they actually have an air show with all the old airplanes, and one of the planes that's in the sky was reminding me of the daredevils in their planes, and that was pretty interesting. So of course I had to have it in the village. New York City, New York, and also some of the East Coast cities. And there are pieces in here, again, with our road trip that actually I bought that you can't find anywhere. We bought them in gift shops in different cities. And as you can see, we have the Empire State Building. Of course, I have to have King Kong up there climbing, looking for his Christmas gift. And as you tour through it, you will see Philadelphia, the Independence Hall. You'll see crazy Washington, D.C. And this is actually Plymouth, Mass. We have the Plymouth Rock and the Mayflower. And of course, this year was supposed to be the 500th anniversary. I think it's the 500th anniversary or 400th anniversary, probably, of the Mayflower. They redid it, but because of the pandemic again, they could not have the big ceremony. And as you tour through this, on the other side, you'll see actually Newport, Rhode Island. You will see Savannah, Georgia. And you will see, actually I have a Savannah trolley, and you will see New Orleans and the Chicago Cubs. We actually went to that stadium. It was very interesting. Like, you know, I also do stadiums. And this section is Section 7, and it's good old Beantown. It's got a little bit of everything in here, and there's one sad thing about this year. There's no fireworks. We won no championships. It's probably one of the first years in the last 10 years that we did not win a championship, but the year the way it went, we're probably better off we didn't win one, because it really isn't a real championship. Because I don't know, some of them play like 30, 40 games, and to me, you're a real champ when you play the 160 games for the Red Sox and the 80 games for the Bruins. And the Patriots, well, that's a whole other story, but we have the North End, I call it, the old North Church. We have Fenway Park, again with no fireworks, but the fans are still there. And we have the Logan Airport, you'll see that, and also Foxborough Stadium. And actually, I was ahead of times. The buildings there are not Legacy Place. I think it's called Legacy Place down in Foxborough. They must have got the idea from my village, because those stores were here before the big Legacy. I think it's Legacy Place. And they must have got the idea. They saw it and said, we can put stores here and make some money. So this part was kind of interesting this year. This section is usually down the far end of the room. But because my wife was working at home, she has a desk, and I could not use the other part of the room. So this was actually the building of a wall. I had to put up a temporary wall. As you can see the backdrop, that is, the room continues down probably another 10 feet. But I constructed it. They said it couldn't be done. Well, I did it. And I really like how it came out, because it brings all this section right into the village scene without a TV and a sectional sofa in the way. So this is just a mismatch of things, but also going back to economy, I have my own, it's called Saviano Square, and it's got a Lowe's and a Home Depot, so I don't have to go very far to do my shopping. And also in this, I have a fun thing is, I have friends that have donated things, not donated, but gave them to gifts, and one of them was Mary, and she has her own gift shop. She has Mary's gift shop, and I got my sister Carol's gift shop, and my wife's nephew's wife is Amy, so she's got a pancake house, and she does like pancakes, I understand, so it was kind of fun that was in the scene. And down this far end, we have Jimmy Buffet, or Jimmy Buffett. I always call him Jimmy Buffet, I didn't know the difference. And I do have Margaritaville, and it's a fun thing. Again, it's a little scene, and I got Santa laying out in the sun. And sadly, it snowed that year when Santa was relaxing, just jokingly, but I have to have snow everywhere, so it snowed in Margaritaville. Okay, this section is actually my international travel. If you didn't know, probably about 7 or 8 years ago, I had a fear of flying. You wouldn't get me on a plane for anything. The last time I was on an airplane was probably 40 years ago, and got married on a honeymoon, and I almost told my wife if she wanted to live in Hawaii, because I didn't want to take the plane back. But I did get enough courage to get back there, and well, all of a sudden, my son Stephen met his wife Martina in Sweden, and of course the wedding was here, But the parents came and they said, why don't you come to Sweden and see how we live? So my wife was going to go. I said, ho, 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 you're not going without me. And I just got on the plane, and ever since, I love flying. It's just, I can't explain it. I guess it was the planes back then or whatever it is, but I did save a lot of money because I probably would have been broke on all the trips. I've been to Europe probably 4 times now, and these are all parts of my trip. And a lot of the things in here actually did come from Europe. And I had everything put in my carry-ons because if my bags got lost, the souvenirs were coming with me because you can't replace souvenirs. You can replace dirty underwear, and that was just a fun thing. So this is kind of what, and I'm hoping to go to Austria and Italy. Those are my next 2 countries.
Good.
Okay, and against on my bar, usually since it's a Bruins bar, I have all the Bruins players and different things about the Bruins up here. But I had to take the shelf and use it for that's the original Christmas Village scene that I had in my window in my kitchen in 1987. You can't even buy any of that anymore. It's not as spectacular as today's, the detail, but it's fun to have them come along with me through the years, which is probably now, lost track of time, so I would say 33 years. Does that sound right? 87 to 2020, maybe even more. And I do have some antique Christmas items that I just nostalgia. And this is a very interesting one. It plays. This is probably about 60 years old, from a friend of ours' mother that passed away. And it actually didn't work. But my friend Bill that lives here is very good at reviving things with wiring. And he got it to work. And it's a pretty interesting item. Okay, we're back upstairs and it's the end of the tour just about. And I just want to explain one interesting thing that's been with me since I was a kid. And I'll explain how this all came about. And it's my nativity scene. And of course, Christmas isn't about me. It is more about the big guy, Jesus. And what it was is I lived in a 3-decker house. Some people call them tenement, row houses, whatever you want to call them. But we lived on the 3rd floor. On the 2nd floor was Jenny and Al. And they had such a beautiful nativity scene. And I said to my mom and dad, you know, we only have Jesus and Mary. We don't have the wise men and all that. So what I would do is I used to, as a kid, I would shovel the snow and I would get a quarter, or I would pull some leaves and rake leaves and fix the yard, I get a nickel. So I saved all my nickels and quarters, and what I would do is go down to Woolworths in the square and would buy a figure whenever I had a chance, and I collected enough. And it's funny because some of them do have the price. They were 29 cents. And I just found out, and I didn't even know that, for 29 cents I was getting products that were from Italy. Because my son Paul was here last week and said, oh, there is a price, and it also says made in Italy. So I got a good bargain, a made in Italy for 29 cents on the fun side. But this is what Christmas is all about. And what was a funny story was my mom used to say, you can't have Jesus in the crib because it's not Christmas yet. And I said, Mom, that doesn't make any sense to me. And she'd go, why? I said, well, Jesus is with us every day, and why do I have to wait till Christmas? So I just have Jesus always in the manger, and it's not just because he was born on Christmas, but to me, he's there every day. And I'm going to end the night with a little song from one of our residents here, and she actually has a great voice, and I actually play a lot of her. She has a CD, and I play a lot of her Christmas songs, and I like her songs because they're a little bit different. And being a dark year for a lot of people, and I didn't look at it as a dark year. I did a lot of positive things in my life, and I just want to spread that the light of holy Jesus and all that. And if you get your Bible and you open the Bible, the first thing is Genesis 1, and in there, God is describing the earth. And the first, it's Genesis 1, 3. Then God commanded, let there be light, and the light appeared. And that's what we should all do in these dark days. Make them as positive and as light, and shed the light. And I'm wishing you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holiday and a very good New Year. Thank you.